Next, introduction to generics. Generics in C# allow developers to create reusable components that can operate on different data types without sacrificing type safety. This powerful feature helps reduce code duplication and increases code maintainability. By the end of this lesson, you will understand how to define and use generic types, methods, and classes in your C# applications. Don't worry if this feels new at first. Now we're on what are generics. Generics provide a way to define classes, methods, and interfaces with a placeholder for the data type. This placeholder is typically denoted by angle brackets, such as where T can be any type, including built-in types like int, string, or user-defined types. For example, a generic class can be defined as follows. Review the class shown on screen and how its members are organized. Now, creating a generic class. Let's create a simple generic class called box. This class will hold a single item of any type. It has methods to add an item and retrieve it. Here's how you can implement it. This slide introduces a class definition. Study the structure in the code sample. In the box class, T is the generic type parameter. You can use this class to create boxes for different data types. See the example on this slide. Pause if you want to study the details. This section covers creating a generic method. In addition to generic classes, you can define generic methods. A generic method can be defined inside a non-generic or generic class. Here's an example of a generic method that swaps two items. This slide introduces a class definition. Study the structure in the code sample. This method takes two parameters by reference and swaps their values. You can use it with any data type. I'll let you read the examples on screen rather than reading every line aloud. Next, constraints on generics. Sometimes you may want to restrict the types that can be used as arguments for a generic type parameter. This is done using constraints. For example, you can specify that a generic type must be a reference type, a value type, or must implement a specific interface. This slide introduces a class definition. Study the structure in the code sample. In this example, the repository class can only accept reference types. You can also impose multiple constraints. Review the class shown on screen and how its members are organized. In this lesson, we covered the fundamentals of generics in C#. You learned how to create generic classes and methods, as well as how to apply constraints on generic type parameters. Generics are a powerful feature that enables code reusability and type safety. Alright, your turn. Give this a try. First, create a generic class called pair that holds two items of any type and has methods to get both items. Also, implement a generic method that takes an array of any type and returns the first element. Also, define a generic interface called iDataProcessor that requires a method to process data of a specified type. Finally, implement the iDataProcessor interface in a class that processes a list of integers.